Hello everybody and welcome to Review Reviews, back with another Hong Kong content review, diving into the man, the myth, the legend, that is Johnnie To. A lot of his movies unfortunately are very hard access, including this one, Lifeline. This one I had to rent on Apple TV that was available on the streaming service. It is a basically non-existent DVD. Practically it's very difficult to get. If you can find it, it's going for crazy money. It's not available on Blu-ray, I don't believe. This definitely needs a kind of 5-star treatment for sure, and I don't think it's going to get it anytime soon unless the great folks at Chameleon Films are watching this review. And firefighter based dramas and kind of thrillers, you know, on this genre. There's so many great first responder based movies in the sense, you know, with police stories kind of thing, and maybe ambulance, you know, chases kind of stuff. There's so many different types of other movies that deal with first response. Even the fantastic The Guilty got a kind of first look into kind of a kind of first responders behind the you know, headset, behind, you know, those people that are sending out the units kind of thing. But there isn't many great firefighter-based movies. There's quite a few in terms of TV shows. There's an oversaturated amount of TV-based kind of, you know, firefighter drama, which makes a lot more sense because you can flesh out the characters more. You can have different types of scenarios because with the daily life of a firefighter, there are different types of scenarios, and this film tries to kind of, you know, incorporate that type of ideas as well into a 2-hour movie. Lifeline was released in 1977, directed by Johnnie To, of course. This is stars Lau Ching-wong, who is mainly a Johnnie To regular at this point. Starring in the Running Out of Time movies, also in the fantastic Mad Detective, which I will just keep on mentioning every time because it's a fantastic film. Absolutely recommend. Please go and check it out, guys. And this film is exactly what it is on the tin for the most part. You know, the first portion of the film, I would say, is a melodrama, very standard textbook, all the cliches in the book in terms of a day in the life of a firefighter. Now, the weird thing about Lifeline, in terms of the kind of the style, the look of the film, it kind of is 2 movies in one in a sense, and that's very common. I mentioned this before within the kind of Running on Karma as well, feeling like it's 2 separate movies almost in a weird way, and it also feels like 2 separate budgets as well. This film was distributed by Shaw Bros. One that are kind of rare, kind of late 90s kind of movies. They kind of stopped doing after a certain amount of time. So this is one of the rare ones I've seen the Shaw Bros. Been behind in terms of the kind of production behind it and the kind of distribution of the film. And the first half of the film, as mentioned, feels like a kind of TV special in a weird way. The way the cinematography looks, the way the kind of the characters are presented, the way everything is kind of shown on in terms of the film, is something about the film that looks very much like a TV special. I don't really understand why that is in terms of the first portion of the film. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Super Cop 2, similar to what I said in that review. That also felt like a kind of an episodical kind of, you know, TV sort of budget, maybe episode of the week, or kind of like an extended pilot, similar to what they did with Twin Peaks. Not to say that's a bad thing by any means, it just comes across a little cheaper than it usually looks compared to a typical Johnnie To film, which looks very stylized, very kind of heavily influenced by a lot of great cinema, and, you know, you got his flavor in his kind of nighttime life and his kind of his mood, his kind of his look is very much on point. His DP is very much on point, and this one is definitely lacking something. It's designed to show the day in the life of being a firefighter, the kind of the highs and lows, the kind of the characters that were introduced to the good portion of the film, because there's quite a lot of characters in this kind of team, and we get to know them in different ways in terms of their background, with the small scenes with the young new recruit who's his father's coming and bringing in kind of, you know, chicken foot soup, and you got the lieutenants, you've got the superiors, you've got our main leading character who basically his mission is to save people, kind of not understanding the kind of bigger picture in terms of the kind of scenarios he gets himself involved with in trying to save people. You know, the idea of kind of knowing your equipment, knowing the small details. You can't just throw yourself in a scenario and save people. You have to know the ins and outs of your team, within your team, to basically effectively get out alive and to save anyone you can in the process. And in that respect, it definitely shows different scenarios that firefighters deal with on a kind of a daily kind of basis, with suicide kind of attempt, you know, talking a woman down from a building. That does happen within the firefighter's job. There's a kind of, you know, car collision that happens. A lot of this melodrama is really laid on thick. It's a thick layer of cheese, and if you're really into that kind of stuff, if you like a kind of Hong Kong cheesy kind of almost kind of pantomime-ish kind of drama, it's so laid on, really strong kind of thing, and you're eating it and it's hard to kind of swallow a little bit in places. It's difficult to get through to the most part, but it's not terrible, it's not bad, it's not, you know, it doesn't compromise the film too badly, but I have to warn you, if you do watch this film, the first hour of this film is like that. However, you do get that, as mentioned, there's kind of different scenarios that do happen within a day-to-day life of a firefighter, and some of it's actually okay in terms of the kind of the drama. Some of the kind of personal relationship aspects are okay. It's just, all of it's just okay. It's the last 45 minutes of the film definitely shifts gears, definitely gets to the film that you actually want to see and what's presented in those trailers. You get a nice 45-minute of practical fire, realistic kind of sets, just a really high tension filled kind of, you know, scenario where these characters are thrown in, and the idea is the first hour is you get to know them, and then you get to see them in danger and how they're going to get out of the scenario and what they deal with on like kind of a grander kind of scale. And you get to see that team, you get to see those kind of equipment in action, you get to see actual real fire and real kind of flames, because all of it feels very practical. It feels very much people on there, stunts actually are happening. There's a good sense of back and forth in terms of the communication. You know, they're trying to, you know, things are kind of failing on them, you know, buildings are falling on top, equipment's exploding, you know, they're trying to strategize and think how to get out of the scenario and to save their life and their team members' life at the same time. That aspect is definitely a lot more kind of appealing to me, and definitely takes a lot of kind of inspiration from, as mentioned, Backdraft. It takes a lot of the kind of the aspect. It's practical, it's exciting, it's really fun to watch. It definitely kind of throws you in this kind of really dangerous scenario, and it's definitely the highlight of the film for sure. It's definitely what the film should have been really from the start, if I'm being honest. I think you could have retooled this film and made it work for. Overall, my thoughts and opinions on Lifeline, I think it's a passable movie. I think it just about hits that mark between a okay movie and a good movie. It's somewhere in the middle. I think the first hour of the film is very questionable. It's a thick layer of cheese you're going to get through. It doesn't quite work overall. It's very hit and miss with some of those sub-stories. Some work better than others. I like the overall kind of team building stuff. I like the overall kind of initial characters and their perspective and their personal motivations and how they're kind of dealing with their own kind of, you know, relationships and their own kind of personal lives and the relationship with their fathers and wives and husbands, and there's all sorts of kind of internal kind of stuff that happens. Some of it doesn't really pan out to anything. I feel it feels more padding than anything actually adding on to the film itself. It feels like it's just there to kind of get to the good stuff that is the 45 minutes, and I think that's where it kind of shines the most. An enjoyable film nonetheless, but definitely falls short overall in terms of the overall enjoyment of a nearly 2-hour movie. That's been my thoughts and opinions on Lifeline, guys. What are your thoughts? Please comment down below. What is your favourite firefighter-based movie that isn't mentioned already from Backdraft and Lifeline? Is there any others that you really, really enjoy? Any that you recommend? Please comment down below. In the meantime, guys, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.